at Citi Field in New York. We welcome you to this presentation of New York Mets baseball on Pix 11. Tonight, the Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. Big series, big crowd. Oh, and it's a bobblehead night, too. Did we mention that? I didn't know DeGrom was a lefty. Perfect time to be tailgating with your friends. You got the hot dogs. You got the traditional, what is that, taquitos?
I don't know. Churro?
On the grill? That's outstanding. What manner of horn is this, you say? That's great. Kids, get ready for some baseball. It's on the way. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you on Ron Darling Bobblehead Night. You like the little guy.
Not bad.
Looks kind of like you. Anyway, the Mets play the Phillies in the second game of a three-game series. Phillies won last night. The Mets will have Jacob deGrom on the mound, his third start coming off the injured list. And you could make the argument that in his last start against the Braves, deGrom has never been more dominant than he was in that game.
76 pitches, 43 of them were sliders, 20 were offered at, and the Atlanta Braves swung and missed 18 times. It's the single best dominance with one pitch over 5 2/3 innings that I've ever seen.
Well, he's only made 2 starts, and he's hit the ground running after a year plus on the sidelines, and he faces a rejuvenated Philly team that under their interim manager Rob Thompson has turned their season completely around.
Boy, they've been good. When you penciled in the lineup this afternoon, there's 5 new players that weren't there at the beginning of the year. Not only are they more athletic, they're better defensively, and that's why they have that record under Thompson so far.
Defense has been good, bullpen has been good, and their starting pitching has really fallen into place. Aaron Nola struggled earlier this year, the erstwhile ace of this Philly staff, but he's pitching like an ace again.
He really is, and it's his fastball that's really taken command, his 4-seamer and his 2-seamer. They've won 13 of their last 15. Their starting pitcher's ERA is 2.92 in that time, and much of it coming on the backs of Nola and tomorrow's starter, Zach Wheeler.
A few years ago, deGrom and Nola were in a great Cy Young race that deGrom won. Tonight they go head-to-head at Citi Field. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Nissan. We make cars that thrill. Experience the thrill for yourself today. Shop NissanUSA.com. By Spectrum, switch and save up to 60%. Visit SpectrumMobile.com. By Burns and Harris, suffered pain you need law. Call 800-PAIN-LAW. And by ShopRite, helping you get it together. Mets have beaten the Phillies 9 of 13 this year. Phillies won in extra innings last night. And now game 2 of the series tonight. Get your tickets now for Mets Old Timers Day, Saturday, August 27th. This special event presented by Citi will feature former players from all eras in celebration of the Mets' 60th anniversary. Tickets are available at Mets.com/tickets. Themes to the game brought to you by your Tri-State BMW centers.
You know, familiarity will be one of our themes today. Rocky Nola has faced the Mets 23 times, deGrom 19. Invincible. 18 strikeouts in his first 10 2/3 innings with those 4 hits allowed. And best in show, Francisco Lindor. Average runs and great leadership for the Mets since the All-Star break.
deGrom on his way in, getting ready for his 3rd start of the season. It's the Mets and Phillies. First pitch is coming right up. Tonight, simple man, calmly waiting for his first Citi Field start in 13 months. Struck it out. Welcome back to Flushing, Jake.
We've got power stuff today.
He's got a slider working, doesn't he?
Unbelievable.
And now his first start back at Citi Field in 13 months will come to an end. Well, that was last Sunday. Now for an encore in front of a sold-out house. Jacob deGrom goes to the lineup to the mound for his 3rd start of the year, his 2nd straight home start. In each of his last 21 starts at Citi Field, he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer. That ties a record. He can break that record tonight. Phillies lineup brought to you by Genesis. No Kyle Schwarber, out with a calf injury. No Bryce Harper, still on the injured list with a thumb injury. No Gene Segura, who started last night but is sitting tonight, recently back from a finger injury. 3 guys who have killed the Mets in the past. Bryson Stott had a big game yesterday. Alec Boehm drove in the only 2 Phillies runs. And Stott leads off against Jacob deGrom on a Saturday night in New York. And Jake's first pitch of the night is a fastball in for a strike, and we're underway. 100 miles an hour on his first offering.
Called a strike by Marty Foster right at the top of the zone. His 20th start against the Phillies, 8-1 with a 2.29.
And Stott takes a fastball inside, and it's 1-1.
Just 10 2/3, 18 punch outs, only 1 walk so far as he's come out of the gate running.
76 pitches his last start against the Braves. You can expect him to ratchet it up from there. And Stott takes a fastball away, and it's 2-1. Stott did something no one had ever done before against Max Scherzer last night. He reached base safely 4 times, 3 hits, 2 singles and a double, and he was also hit by a pitch. Stott recently anointed the everyday shortstop for the Phillies.
It's his first start as a leadoff hitter last night, wasn't it?
You know, Schwarber's been leading off and doing it incredibly successfully, but he tweaked his calf on Thursday in the finale of the Phillies series. Leading into this, and Stott swings through a fastball, and it's 3-2. Phillies last week released Didi Gregorius, and that left Stott as the guy who will play every day from here on in. 24-year-old rookie.
Big swing there. Sorry, Gary. Big swing. Vulnerable upstairs.
And deGrom gets him looking at a fastball for the first out. 101 on the inside edge, and Stott lingers to discuss it with Marty Foster before heading back to the third base dugout.
Well, I said the first pitch, Marty Foster called up in the strike zone for a strike. This one was right across the knees, so he might have a big strike zone this evening.
And Stott really drew the ire of Foster on his way out. Foster turned and watched him walk away, and now Rhys Hoskins will step in. Hoskins 1 for 5 last night. And he loops one into shallow right. That's going to fall for a base hit. And so Hoskins attacking a first pitch fastball and dumping it into right for the first hit of the night.
We saw the Braves do this early in the game because they were trying to get off that slider. And I think that is why deGrom went to so many sliders in that 5 2/3. Defense for the Mets brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. McNeil with those stitches on his thumb back in the lineup. Remember, Lindor played with a broken finger, so the precedent has been set. And 3 center fielders, lots of experience at that position, playing the outfield positions.
Here's Alec Boehm, who's been red hot, drove in both Philadelphia runs last night, including his 10th inning sacrifice fly that brought home the winner. And he goes after a first pitch fastball away, 0-1. Boehm, since the 24th of June, is hitting .368. He has turned his fortunes completely around since his early season struggles, both at the bat and in the field. And he goes after the slider and fouls it back, and it's 0-2. So they've already made contact against the slider, which put the Phillies way ahead of where the Braves were on Sunday when he threw 18 consecutive sliders to start the game. They were swung at, all of which were missed. Hoskins at first and 1 out. 0-2 to Boehm. JT Realmuto on deck. And the fastball just missed at 102.
deGrom throwing so hard, his shirt's starting to become untucked in the front of his uniform.
You've heard of pitchers undressing hitters. You've never heard about pitchers undressing themselves. 1-2 coming. Ground ball to short, should be 2. Lindor with a flip, McNeil with the turn, off the bag, and Alonso couldn't get the tag. So McNeil playing with the cut on the thumb of his throwing hand, and don't know whether that was what affected the throw. McNeil usually so true with his throws, but not that time, and so that keeps the inning alive.
It's interesting. It's almost like he wound up to make that throw. Lindor with the shovel and plenty of time for him to make the play. Hard slide by Hoskins, who got into McNeil, and the throw was awry. Good try by Pete to try to reach back, but misses Bohm.
There's the bandage on the thumb, and you can certainly understand how that might affect his throwing. No error on the play. 6-4 fielder's choice for the second out, and now JT Realmuto had a tough night at the plate last night against Scherzer and company. He went 0 for 5. And he takes a first pitch slider for a strike. JT's had a resurgence lately. Last 24 games hitting .360, but a rough night last night and many rough nights in the past against DeGrom. 4 for 30. And he just gets a piece of that slider. So 2 breaking balls in a row from DeGrom to start out Realmuto, and it's 0-2.
I don't know if it says what it says about the Phillies swing, or says the state of the slider by DeGrom so far, but not the sharp one that he had against the Braves in his last start.
Bohm at first and 2 out. He's running. Realmuto takes a cold third strike. Inning over. 3 straight sliders from DeGrom, and he gets Realmuto for his second strikeout to end the inning. Mets come to bat against Aaron Nola when we come back. Feed the moment. Eduardo Escobar on the sidelines after tweaking his side yesterday, but he was out on the field before the game working out. Tomas Nido starts a second straight game behind the plate. The surprise is Jeff McNeil being in the lineup after getting a couple of stitches in his thumb, stepped on by Rhys Hoskins last night. Mets were held to just 1 run and 5 hits over 10 innings last night. Ranger Suarez had a terrific start and now hands it off to Aaron Nola.
Well, Aaron Nola right now is as hot as he's been all season long. The palindromic 1-loss record in his career over 193 starts, 75 and 57.
I like it, Ronnie.
The Phillies defense brought to you by the local tri-state GMC dealers. There's 2 metrics: defensive runs saved and outs above average. They were minus 22 to June 1st. Since June 1st, they're plus 1. And the biggest play last night defensively was made by Mr. Matt Vierling with the strike to home plate to get Marte.
His first career outfield assist, and it came at a big time. By the way, Dave Otto salutes you.
Nice.
Brandon Nimmo leads off against Nola. 4th time the Mets have faced Nola this year. He had 1 bad start and 2 good ones against the Mets. And now pitching from the same mound where he struck out 10 in a row last year to tie Tom Seaver's 50-year-old record. Nimmo hitless in his last 12 at bats, seen his average shrink to .267, on base .352. And Nimmo skies one into shallow center field. Brandon Marsh coming on. Gives way to left fielder Vierling, and he uses 2 hands to catch it. 1 out.
This is the 3rd time that Nola and DeGrom have gone head-to-head. They have not had a signature game yet. Maybe tonight's the night.
First time was that game in Philadelphia a few years back when DeGrom was coming off an injury and had a 45-pitch first inning, and then they pulled him out of the game.
Right.
The second time, Nola got beat up. So we'll see if they can both respond to the bell tonight. Here's Starling Marte, who had an opposite field double that got the Mets started in the 9th, only to get thrown out of the plate by Vierling with a chance to win the game. And he takes a strike, 0-1. Marte's got good numbers against Nola. A lot of these Mets do. He's 6 for 18 with a home run against Nola. There's Vierling, who was the opening day center fielder for the Phillies. They shuffled through a lot of center fielders before they got Brandon Marsh from the Angels. And now Vierling filling in for Schwarber in left field. And gives them a much better glove out there, if not quite the 34 home run bat.
Career numbers for Marte against the Phils.
Sliced the other way, and Marte's got a base hit. Marte is just the king of the first inning. Another first inning hit for Starling, and the Mets have a one-out base runner. Here's that play from the ninth inning last night.
Well, decision by Marte to go with one out in the ninth inning. Vogel back with a sinking line drive. Veerling took his time and threw a strike. And underrated in all of this was the tag by Real Muto, who just hurled his body in front of Marte, never let his hands get to the plate.
And then Marte tried to return the favor in the 10th inning, only to see his throw skip by Tomas Nido, allowing Alec Bohm to score what proved to be the winning run. Here's Francisco Lindor, whose 13-game run-scoring streak stopped last night. But he did go 1 for 4, and Lindor has now reached base safely in 19 straight games, which is the second longest streak of his career. By the way, Marte with that base hit's now hitting .386 in the first inning this year. What did you say to Buck Showalter? Put me in one spot of the lineup and leave me there? Well, Buck's done that, and Marte has rewarded him.
It was his Greta Garbo moment. Just leave me alone.
I want to be alone in the number 2 hole. Some odd shadows being cast right now.
Look at that shot. It's like an aura around Nola.
You've got the legs of Nola being cast in shadow from the mound toward home plate, with the light coming in from behind him from that reflection off the office building in right center. Very strange.
I mean, the stick figure with the legs on the field.
And Marte gets his hand back in. Marte 14 steals to lead the team. He's been caught 8 times. I think I said 8. Been caught 6 times.
White on white with the spikes.
And Lindor takes the curveball for a strike from Nola, and it's 1-1. Aaron Nola's always thrived with that curveball. Last couple of years have not been friendly to Nola. He got away from throwing his sinker, which he's doing more this year. And taking all the way that time, Lindor on the curveball, and it's 1-2.
I think he asked for time, and he felt like he got quick pitch there. So instead of offering at it, he just took it.
With 2 strikes, they move Bohm over to the right side of the infield. Marte at first and 1 out. And Lindor watches up and away, 2-2. With Alonso waiting on deck.
This is one of those circumstances. If Marte were to run and pop up and slide, he might be able to go to second and then on to third because of the defensive alignment.
You have Stott alone on the left side and only a few feet off the bag at second. Seems as though this time of year, that reflection coming from right center tends to be particularly acute. Sometimes puts that hitter with some light shining right in his face, and the fans certainly know about that. Lindor fouls off the fastball, and it's 2-2. There's your NL East standings, brought to you by Mattress Firm. The Braves took the opener of a day-night doubleheader from the Marlins this afternoon to get within 5.5 of the Mets. Chadwick Tromp, first game for the Braves, 3 RBIs. And they used Kyle Muller as a fill-in starter, and he pitched well for 5 innings for Atlanta. There goes Marte. The throw by Real Muto on a hop. It goes to the center field, and Marte will continue on to third. Stolen base for Marte is 15th. Error on Real Muto puts a runner at third. Lindor was called out on strikes for the second out.
Fastball away and up call. by the tag of Stock. Second baseman made his way over to third, but way too late.
So Lindor is struck out for the second out. Marte arrived safely at third, and here's Pete Alonso. Pete was walked twice last night, otherwise 0 for 2. 96 RBIs, leads the National League. He's got 4 career home runs against Nola and a .351 average over 37 at-bats. And takes the first pitch fastball for a strike.
Stott tries to make the pick and the tag. Doesn't even get any leather on it, but he gets the glove on the helmet of Marte.
Nola off the stretch with a runner at third. And Pete takes one the other way. Toward the line comes Castellanos. He won't get it. Base hit. Marte is in with the first run of the game. 97 RBIs for Pete Alonso. Another first inning opposite field RBI for Pete. And it's been a specialty of his on this homestand. And the Mets strike first. It's 1-0 New York.
You always have to respect Pete's power as a pitcher. So how do you try to battle that? You battle that by trying to pitch him in. Look at that sun in his eyes. Well, he got it in, but Pete's so strong that he dumped it into right field, and he has not been afraid in RBI situations in the first inning to go that way.
One of the reasons why his batting average is up over 280, in addition to all the power, and now 97 runs driven in. There's Daniel Vogelbach. And he takes a fastball outside. Vogelbach came off the bench last night. Hit the fly ball that Marte tried to score on in the bottom of the ninth, only to be thrown out. Vogelbach playing his 12th game as a Met. His OPS is over 1,000 since the trade was made. And a curveball in for a strike, and it's 1-1. You see that Thomas Sabucky got called up by the Giants yesterday.
I did.
Part of that Vogelbach, the Darren Ruff trade.
I just thought it was so interesting that he was claimed by San Francisco because of his start against San Francisco. Just didn't go the way as planned.
And then he gave up a home run in his first outing last night. Vogelbach 2 hits and 3 career at bats against Nola. Alonso at first with 2 down. And the fastball on the corner, 1-2.
You ever find yourself saying the game before, the night before, you couldn't scratch out a run, and here you go in the first inning and the next day, and you get a run like that against one of the best pitchers in the league.
Well, Scherzer didn't overwhelm the Phillies last night, but boy, did he get out of some jams. Just inside with the fastball, 2-2. Scherzer gave up 9 hits over 7 innings last night.
The
But
good
he
ones,
stranded 8 in those 7
the
innings.
good ones refuse to give in, and that's Max and this guy. Every start.
Two from Nola, and Vogelbach fouls off the sinker. Aquin on deck.
You know, it's always interesting to me when you acquire players to try to fill your roster. But when you acquire players and they spend a good part of their time hitting 5th and 6th for you, well, that's a whole different ball of wax.
Noah Syndergaard, who had a tribute video played in his honor last night, won't pitch in this series. Probably will face the Mets next weekend in Philly. Curveball pulled toward the hole. Angling to his right is Maton, and he throws out Vogelbach to end the inning. But the Mets get a run on a Pete Alonso 2-out RBI hit. It's 1-0 New York. Report is brought to you by Astound Broadband, powered by RCN. Jacob deGrom averaged slider velocity more than a mile per hour faster than anybody else, and the next 3 guys on that list are all relief pitchers. The other guy, Wheeler, see him tomorrow. Nick Castellanos leads off in the second. DeGrom's take to a 1-0 lead. And Castellanos takes a fastball on the corner for a strike. Castellanos has perked up a little over the last few weeks. Last 14 games hitting .333, but it's still been a vastly disappointing year for Castellanos in the first year of a 5-year free agent contract. Fouls back a high fastball, and it's 0-2. Last year with the Reds, Castellanos had a .935 OPS. This year he's at .681. Drop off is the largest of any player in the majors. .02 from DeGrom, and he misses away with the fastball. 1-2.
So we've already seen this is a totally different game than it was the last start against the Braves, where 57% of the time he was throwing sliders. He's been fastball heavy so far in his first 5 batters.
And he goes to the slider to strike out Castellanos. That's his 3rd strikeout. That's the first swing and miss he's gotten against the slider today. He had 18 in a row of them against the Braves.
Well, that slider right there at Castellanos really mirrored what we saw against the Braves. Just a short, little, tight foot breaker that they could not get a bat on, the Braves hitters. As you saw, all of them right around the same spot. Down and away to righties, down and into lefties.
Here's the rookie DH, Derek Hall, and he jumps back from the fastball. Ball 1. Phillies have 3 rookies in their starting lineup with Stott, Hall, and Matt Vierling. Hall's given them a nice power bat since being called up after the injury to Bryce Harper. Really has done a terrific job, if not being Bryce Harper, at least picking up some of his production in that DH spot. Battled in the minor leagues for a number of years. 27 years old, out of Dallas Baptist. And the fastball just missed outside. 2-1.
Classic stance, kind of in a nice athletic position, bat back, a power swing indeed.
Three on the right side against Hall, and he swings through the fastball. So DeGrom coming after him with nothing but heat, and it's 2-2.
Philadelphia Phillies left-handers are very vulnerable up in the strike zone if Jake wants to take advantage of that.
2-2. Lifted foul. They're also a team that chases a lot. They have the 6th highest chase rate of any team in the major leagues. We'll see how DeGrom uses that to his advantage. Brandon Marsh, another left-hand hitter, waiting on deck. 2-2 to Hall. And he misses low and in with the slider. 3-2. Second full count for DeGrom. Struck out Stott on a full count pitch in the first inning. And Hall pops one foul. Guillorme chasing after it, but that's going to go out of play. You can see the Phillies, much better fastball hitting team than secondary hitting team. See the high chase rate. Phillies are 3rd in the league in home runs, 5th in runs scored. They don't walk a lot. 3-2 coming. And he struck him out with a back foot slider. 3 consecutive strikeouts for DeGrom. And if you go back to his start against the Braves now, the 8th straight inning that he struck out 2 batters.
You know, we fall in love with the pitch. The pitch is a slider that strikes him out, but he made him so aware of all the fastballs thrown to Hall that by the time he threw this pitch, there was no way for him to not swing at it.
So 2 out, nobody on. Now Brandon Marsh, who before he was traded from the Angels to the Phillies, had a huge game against the Mets in Anaheim. He had 2 home runs in 1 game against the Mets. That was against Tyler McGill and David Peterson. 2 of the 8 home runs he's hit this year.
He's a great example of trading for someone more athletic, more speed, better defensively.
Well, they had a black hole in center field all season. I mean, they used Vierling there. They used Odubel Herrera there. They tried Scott Kingery out there. It just They didn't have anybody like Brandon Marsh.
The last couple of years, Gary.
Yeah. Somehow he lays off the back foot slider, and it's 1-2. Three on the right side against Marsh. And he launches one foul down the right side.
So what we've seen so far early is the Phillies are taking a little better cut at that slider from DeGrom. So his fastball, especially up in the zone, might play a bigger role here this evening.
Jake's now worked 12 1/3 innings this year and struck out 22. Those are reliever numbers. 1-2 coming. Pulled foul. What did Buck say after his start against the Braves? He said it was like watching Edwin Diaz pitch every inning.
That's right. There's a lot of things that Buck said. He said, I didn't know he played simple man or came out to simple man. There was a lot of things that Buck is just learning about his star pitch.
I mean, we take it for granted because we've been watching him for 8 years now, but for Buck, this is all new. 1-2 coming. And he straightens him up with a fastball. 2-2 to Marsh. So Jake has already had some longer at bats in this game than he had on Sunday against the Braves. He pitch at bat to Hall, now about to throw a 7th pitch to Marsh. Nick Maton would be next. Two. Struck him out. 100-mile-an-hour fastball, foul tipped and held. DeGrom strikes out the side in the second inning. Good battle by Marsh, but DeGrom came up the winner. 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. 1-0 New York. MLB.TV is now only $65. Watch all out-of-market regular season games live or on demand, plus MLB Big Inning. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. I thought I just saw something that you very rarely see during a game that he's pitching. I think Jake actually smiled. There he goes again. It's another smile.
Whoa.
Never see that during a game he's pitching. Tyler Naquin gets first pitch curveball and fouls it off from Aaron Nola as we start the home second. I guess that means that he's pretty happy with what he's accomplished so far.
He's happy to be making his regular turn. That's what he's happy about.
So last night, if you'll recall, several things happened during the game that were unusual. You had 2 Mets come out of the game at the same time. Eduardo Escobar and Jeff McNeil both got injured in the course of the same inning, which led to a bit of a hole on the Mets infield, which eventually was filled by Mark Canha playing third base. But what Buck told us today was that's lined sharply. One hop, nice play by Maton getting in front of him. He throws a Naquin one away. What Buck told us is that there were numerous players volunteering to play third base. James McCann volunteered to play third base. Pete Alonso volunteered to play third base, which he had done earlier in his life.
What I like about this play, Gary, is watch Maton got right in front of it, just in case if the hop wasn't true, that he'd still have a chance to block it and maybe throw out Naquin, but he handled it beautifully. Nice play.
The other guy who volunteered to play third base was Jacob DeGrom. Now,
not on Buck's watch.
Well, here's the thing. So that happened, and obviously he didn't put him in the game at third base. Then, in the 8th inning, Tomas Nido gets on base, and because the Mets are down 2 players in the dugout, they have only Vogelbach and McCann left on the bench. So there's nobody to pinch run. Again, in the 10th inning, Vogelbach's the free runner, and there's nobody to pinch run it. So I asked Buck today, at what point would you consider using a pitcher to pinch run? And he said, well, there are some circumstances. And I said, who? And he said, well, who do you think's the best available option?
Yeah.
I said, well, it's DeGrom, but you can't do that, right?
That's right.
But I mean, you could. It's kind of like what we say about being on TV. You can say anything once. If you're the manager, you can do anything once.
Jake's like John Travolta. He's the man in the plastic bubble now, forever.
That's really well put. He's the bubble boy.
That's right.
He's all about the moops. 2-1 coming, and the curveball outside to Guillorme, 3-1. Guillorme 1 for 4 last night. Did not start the game, but came in after Escobar was hurt.
He did say something interesting, though. Not that Michael Givens would be a great base runner, because Michael started as an everyday player, but that Williams would be a guy that he would think of using. Trevor Williams.
That's lined into right field, and Guillorme's got himself a base hit. A 1-out single, third hit for the Mets against Nola.
So gets the count in his favor, gets a fastball up in the strike zone, and a linea to right by Guillorme. Got on top of this ball as it had a little rise in it from Nola, four-seamer.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Jeff McNeil. So Jeff went out in the field today, and he took ground balls, and he threw, and he hit, and pronounced himself good to go. Mets lineup was a little delayed today while they waited to see whether Jeff could play with that cut on his thumb. I've already seen him make a throw in this game, and that was not a great one. Don't know if the thumb was a reason for it. Now we'll see how he swings the bat.
We didn't get a lot of news on Escobar, did we, Gary?
No, but he was out on the field before the game, moving around, so that's a good sign. They did have an MRI on Escobar, which showed nothing to be concerned about. So they're hoping to keep him off the injured list. McNeil takes a changeup off the plate, and it's 1-1. Jeff had his 13-game hitting streak stopped last night. Came out of the game after just 1 at bat. Starts the day 5th in the National League in batting at .306. McNeil grounds one toward the hole. That's through for a base hit. Guillorme around second. He'll go on to third, but he falls down. Now he is trying to get back to second, and Stott is unable to tag him out. Guillorme tried to go first to third, but he lost his footing and was fortunate to get back to second base safely.
Well, first, top spin on this grounder, so it gets by Maton. And Guillorme was going to go from first to third. What tripped him up? He lost his footing. He lost his footing going around the base, and then had to hustle back into second base, right in front of the tag of Stott. So watch him as he fakes the steal, then he gets going, and his feet get kind of crossed up, trying to touch the bag at second base, and got out of his stride.
So 2 aboard with 1 out. Now here is Nito. McNeil wearing a special glove on that right hand where he suffered the cut on his thumb. I think you put it very well before the game tonight, Ronnie. When Lindor closed his hand in the door in LA and missed only 1 game with a broken tip of his finger, I think he kind of set the standard.
The gauntlet has been tossed down.
Nito's got a 6-game hitting streak going after going 1 for 3 last night. Buck was raving about his hit last night, an up and in pitch in the 8th inning against Jose Alvarado that he somehow was able to hit down the right field line.
His body went left, his bat kind of went middle, and the ball went right.
Nola, who walks very few, behind in the count 2-0 on Nito. He's been a little more patient at the plate lately. He gets a 2-0 curveball and swings over at 2-1.
In fact, coming into this game, Nola's last 27 and a third innings at Citi Field, 4 walks and 47 punchouts.
He's got a 7.8 strikeout to walk ratio this year. It will be the highest in Phillies history. higher than Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay, who are second and third. A good changeup to get even on Nito, 2-2. I think that's the underrated weapon for Nola, that changeup.
Well, it's the pitch when he has you thinking of just fastball and that good breaking ball. I call it more of a slurve. That he'll mix that one every once in a while, and it's a pitch he gets ground balls on, so that's why you would feature it here.
Nimmo on deck, 2-2 to Nito. And Tomas takes one in the dirt, another changeup, and it's 3-2. Braves won their day game over Miami, and they lead the night game 1-0 in the second on a Ronald Acuna home run. You see the throw Acuna made this afternoon? Second base? In the same ballpark where he got hurt last year. Yorme at second, McNeil at first with one out. 3-2 to Nito, and he fouls back the fastball. Tonight's health report brought to you by Perlmutter Cancer Center at NYU Langone Health. Eduardo Escobar had an MRI on that left side. Showed nothing to be concerned about. Out on the field before the game, doing some light work. Don't know what his availability might be tonight. McNeil's in the lineup though, and he has already gotten a base hit. 3-2 coming to Nito. And he takes the curveball for strike 3 call. Nola drops a hammer on him. He's got his second strikeout, 2 out.
He had him on the seesaw of fastball changeup and then threw a breaking ball right at him. He's the league leaders. Most strikeouts in the National League this year. Nola right in the middle of all that royalty.
Brought to you by Stella Artois. Carlos Rodon got a win last night for the Giants. Now, Country, you'd have to say, is still very much the front runner for Cy Young conversation. Although Edwin Diaz is doing his best to try and stick his nose in there.
Yeah, you have to include him. Have to.
Here's Nimmo with 2 out and 2 on. Brandon Fly left his first time up, and he goes after the first pitch, hits it about 3 feet, and Realmuto throws him out to end the inning. So a first pitch change up, and Nola got Nimmo to hammer it into the ground. 1-0 New York.
Unbelievably talented and unbelievably motivated, and I think I've said this about him before. If you were playing Tiddlywinks, he would want to beat you. So he's extremely competitive, and it fuels his desire to be the best. And then you put Max next to him, and you get those two together, and it's quite a recipe.
Well, nobody who watches this guy doesn't come away incredulous. Nick Maton leads off in the third and goes after a first pitch slider, 0-1. And I think sometimes you get inured to it after a while. But after a year away, to see Jake come back the way he has in these first 2+ starts and look like the best version of himself, while it's stunning when you think about it on the grand scale, it's just what we've been used to.
Yeah.
For the last 5 years.
Well, he hasn't missed a beat. That's probably been the most unusual part about it. He was gone for so long that I think a part of you had to lower your expectation level, where you had to say, okay, got to give this kid a fair shot now. He's been away for 13 months. When he comes back, let's just see what he's got. Well, didn't miss a beat.
I mean, I remember saying right before he took the mound in Washington, he was the best pitcher in baseball when he left. Let's see. He strikes out Maton, and that's 5 consecutive strikeouts for Jake. He struck out 6 of the first 8 batters.
4 on sliders, including this one, the Maton. 2 on fastballs up so far. Look at how loose he is holding the baseball. How do you know that? See between his thumb and his palm, there's air in there. Holding that right on the end of his fingers and just using fingertip pressure to make that ball move.
Here's Matt Vierling hitting 9th in the order, and he takes a first pitch fastball for a strike. Vierling 1 for 4 last night, rookie out of Notre Dame. Started about half the games for the Phillies this year. And that fastball dots the outside corner, and it's 0-2.
So they've got the Vegas connection when Harper's in the lineup and Stott, and the Notre Dame connection with Real Muto and Vierling.
0-2 coming. Just off the corner. So DeGrom struck out 5 in the first 2 innings. It's the 12th time in his career he struck out 5 or more in the first 2 innings. Out of 201 starts. 1-2 coming. Little tapper to the right side. McNeil shuffles over. And Vierling just barely out at first. Really can really get down the line.
You know, you talk all the time when McNeil or someone else has an injury to their fingers when they're an infielder, and they say it's going to result in their throw. Well, that looked like he had trouble getting the grip out of his glove. That certainly with that kind of makeshift Band-Aid he has on the end of his thumb might play a part in that as well, as they just get Vierling at first base. Nice hustle.
Bang bang play, but he was out. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Bryson Stott, and he takes a first pitch curveball for a strike. First curve that DeGrom has thrown. Nick has upped his curveball percentage from last year. There were 4% curveballs through his first 2 starts. And he gets it on the hands of Stott, gets the pop up for Lindor, and that retires the side. 10-pitch inning for DeGrom. He gets him 1-2-3. He's retired 8 in a row. 1-0 Mets in the 3rd. Starling Marte leads off for us, and Steve Gelbs is standing by with a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you know, I figure if a Hall of Famer's in the park, I got to talk to Mike Piazza here. And Mike, you're going to be here a lot over the next couple of weeks. 2 weeks from today, Old Timers Day. How much are you looking forward to that day in a couple of weeks?
I already got my ice bath really warmed up for the Old Timers Day, so it's going to be a fun day. I'm so excited. The fans are excited. So it's going to be a great group of guys coming back. So we're thrilled. I mean, so far the excitement this year has been great. They have a great team, and we just want to give them some fun and then serious down the home stretch for them.
Jay Horowitz putting together such an incredible list of former Mets. Who are you most looking forward to seeing?
I mean, the funniest thing was for me, Al texted me as soon as he committed, and he's like, dude, I want you to take me deep. So I'm going to try and throw. I'm probably going to end up swinging and breaking my bat in 3 places. But I tell him, the bar is low, all right? Everyone's like, go deep, go deep. I'm like, I just want to make contact. But, you know, Al, Turk, all those guys and all that. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's smart to set expectations that way at the start.
Yeah.
So that way, you know, you leave them wanting to, you leave them wanting more, perhaps. Now, this team right here, you say just a great team. What have you liked? I know you spent time with them in spring training, but what have you liked as you've watched them grow into this type of a juggernaut right now?
Well, I was talking earlier, and I was basically telling the fans that the sign of a very good team is a team that can come back from adversity. They're talented, they're going to win games, but when you go through a tough stretch and you go through high expectations like the series against Atlanta a few weeks ago where they started off slow and they're able to rebound. So to me, it's a question of what a team could do when their backs are against the wall and they have to perform, and you have to get that clutch hit. Because when things are going good, everyone's having fun, you're on your best behavior, but when things are going tough, that's when you have to look each other in the locker room and say, hey guys, we need to pick it up and come together. And I've seen them do that so far, so hopefully they'll continue that down the stretch.
Mike, so great to see you. We're going to be talking plenty more in a couple of weeks. So just a little teaser right here, but have a great night. Thanks. Great to see you.
God bless.
All right, guys, back to you.
So I'm thinking if Leiter throws a cutter on Piazza's hands,
Yes.
who gets the advantage of that?
Well, I always thought Mike's better out over the plate carry towards center and right center, so Al's advantage. But that cutter at 62 just doesn't really bore in on the hands like it used to. Sorry, Al.
Lindor chops one foul after Marte strikes out to start the inning.
I, by the way, will be throwing a 55, so Al's got me. If I throw it all, we'll have to see.
I still like the idea you came up with of having Keith pitch to you.
Yes, I like that.
Show you that high school gas. Lindor lifts one out to left, and Vierling coming toward the line. 2 hands, 2 outs.
What's Keith this weekend? He's in St. Louis, right? They're having the 82 teams getting together.
40th anniversary of the 1982 Cardinal Championship team. There are lots of celebrations going on this weekend in San Francisco. They're celebrating the 2012 team.
That's right. They're getting 26 players and coaches back. That's going to be a nice night for the Giants, who have had an underwhelming year.
And also, it's been a heartbreaking week for that team, with Tim Lincecum losing his wife to cancer at age 38.
I know this last Friday, Kristen passed away, so Tim, of course, will not be there. One of the absolute fan favorites.
I'm sure he'll be in everybody's heart there. Curveball in for a strike to Alonso. Drove in the game's only run with a single to right field in the first. Alonso, the only player who has hit 4 home runs against Aaron Nola.
I don't think Pete has more hits against one pitcher than he does Nola. 14 hits now.
By the way, Piazza was 1 for 8 against Leiter, but the one was a home run.
Well, there you go.
Probably left him a curveball out over the plate.
By the way, the fans think that the ex-players are so excited to get on the field and play. That is not true.
Let me tell you something from a fan's perspective.
Yeah.
The best part of Old Timers Day is the introductions.
Yes, of course.
It's kind of like the All-Star game. At least the way the All-Star game used to be. And Alonso takes strike 3 called. Fastball on the outside corner, and Nola has his first 1-2-3 inning. That's his 4th strikeout. DeGrom back to work. He's got a 1-0 lead after 3. Sports Nation with the Moose, Mark Malusis, alongside No Average Joe Mosseri and Justin Walters. This Sunday, Justin follows up on this week's announcement from Serena Williams about her impending retirement, which should make for even more drama later this month, right here in Flushing. That's tomorrow at 11, right here on New York's very own. Jacob deGrom, 6 strikeouts in the first 3 innings. He's retired the last 8. Rhys Hoskins, the only man to reach against him, takes a fastball up and away for ball 1. Hoskins dumped a single into right field in the first inning, swinging at a first pitch fastball. And that one catches the corner, and it's 1-1. 200 career starts, nearly half of them he's allowed 1 run or no runs. How's that even possible?
They say it all the time. I'm supposed to be responsible for talking about this young man and what he's doing when I have no idea how you do it.
And even better as he's gone along.
Yeah.
1-2 coming, and Hoskins lays off the slider. 2-2. Just think about this. Since the beginning of last year, Jake's made 17 starts. He has a 0.55 whip, right? Walks and hits per innings pitched. Hoskins drives one to center, chasing Nimmo back a few strides. Through the warning track, he makes the catch. 1 out. Best contact against DeGrom so far comes from Hoskins, 1 away. So that 0.55 whip is the lowest whip of any 17 start span in the history of the game. And not by a little. The lowest previous was 0.64 by Clayton Kershaw from 15 to 16.
Yeah.
So from 0.64 down to 0.55, the lowest walks and hits per innings pitched in the history of the game over 17 starts by a mile. And that's the thing about his season last year. I mean, he wasn't just great. He was historically great.
He was on his way to not eclipsing, but rivaling Gibson's year.
Right. I mean, nobody will ever equal Gibson's years because of the innings pitched factor, but just in terms of the dominance factor,
yeah,
it was the greatest half season in the history of baseball.
I always, I'm asked all the time by a lot of old timers, you can't compare DeGrom to anyone else. And they might be true in some ways, but he only is great with what they ask him to pitch.
Right, you can only participate in the era that you're participating in. And for this era, in terms of what he's allowed, he has been historically great. 0-2 to Alec Bohm, will hit into a fielder's choice his first time. And he goes down swinging on a slider. That's 7 strikeouts now for DeGrom.
There's a lot of variance in his slider tonight. Against the Braves in the afternoon, he had a lot of sliders, although I think that was a changeup there. He had a lot of sliders that were the same. They had a beautiful break, all the same. Today, there's a lot of variance in that slider, but still effective. And the lean is the key. Yeah,
look at that.
The lean is the key. He works his body, 6'6" body, down that mound as good as anyone in the game.
So he didn't throw a changeup his entire start against the Braves, and that's his first one in this game.
I equate DeGrom to if you're a skier and you're standing on top of the mountain and you finally jump off to begin your descent. That's how he gets off the hill.
Grounded down to third, and Guillorme comes in to get it and throws out Real Muto. 11 in a row retired by DeGrom. 7 strikeouts over the first 4. Back will lead off for New York as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Mets got their run in the first inning on a Pete Alonso RBI single after Starling Marte singled, stole the base, advanced to third on an error. Didn't take long. I mean, he's way ahead of Jankowski.
You and I were sitting here before the game, and he went out to run his sprints. And we all said, what? Boy, Jake must be on the field going out to the bullpen. It wasn't. It was Daniel Vogelbach.
It was. By the way, speaking of Jankowski, the Mets have him back in their organization. Signed him to a minor league deal after he was released. Who had him? Was it Seattle?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, it's a nice piece for the Mets to have back. You know, think about Jankowski as a postseason piece, as a pinch runner, defensive replacement. That's a possibility when you shorten your pitching staff a little bit.
You know, it was in AAA with the Mets. Terrence Gore.
That's right. Specialist.
Good luck charm as well.
The Herb Washington of his era. First pitch curveball from Nola in for a strike. It was Seattle that had Vogelbach, that had Jankowski and let him go. Vogelbach grounded out to second base his first time up. Tyler Naquin on deck, then Luis Guillorme, and changeup foul back, and it's 0-2. And the fastball got him looking, and Vogelbach knew it. It's 5 strikeouts now for Nola. 4 of the 5 have come on call third strikes. Driver on the Majors brought to you by Hyundai. Visit buyhyundai.com. You know, this is just an awful story. Fernando Tatis working his way back from an off-season wrist injury that he suffered when he fell off a motorcycle. Now suspended for 80 games, testing positive for steroids.
And what was unusual is that most of the time you get a lot of nonsense from inside the clubhouse. Not this time. There were a lot of angry teammates that voiced their opinion about Tatis Jr. and his inability to get back on the field, the immaturity that he has shown.
Well, the way A.J. Preller, the general manager of the Padres, put it, he said, we have to get back to an area of trust, because that goes back to the offseason injury that he suffered doing an activity he was not supposed to be doing. Naquin pulls one down to first. Hoskins lost it for a moment, then recovered, and that's the second out.
In fact,
you know, so I think that with that in the rearview mirror, this now just piles on top of it.
Just a lost season. Hoskins, that ball almost took his glove off as he's trying to squeeze it there, but he left it behind. But that ball hit awfully sharp from Naquin. I just think, you know, it started right away when they asked him how he hurt his wrist on the motorcycle. He said which time. You know, that was a problem. But it's not only how he represents himself as a Padre. He's important for this game. Maybe not important anymore. I don't know. But he was going to be one of the faces of this game, and now we'll have to see.
Well, fortunately for the Padres, they have a couple of other faces of the game in their lineup playing every day with Machado and Soto. But I think, the master plan in bringing in Soto was to go for it this year. And without Tatis coming back for the last 7 weeks of the season, I don't know how possible that is.
In a weird way, they might be able to rally around this and say, we haven't had him all year. We're going to win this despite, or get in the postseason despite Tatis Jr.
17 straight strikes thrown by Aaron Nola, and he's ahead on Guillorme 0-2.
That's Holiday-like.
Well, the one thing the Padres can say to themselves is, well, we've gotten to this point without him, and they're 13 games over 500, and now they've got one of the best players in baseball added to their lineup in Soto. 0-2, and Guillorme takes a curveball down and in. The problem, of course, for the Padres and any team that gets in the postseason via the wild card is that you've got an extra layer to get through.
Yeah.
And they can't win their division. They're 16 games behind the Dodgers, who never lose.
Playing that extra round is not going to allow you to set up your pitching for the gauntlet of October, and that makes it difficult.
Changeup misses 2-2. And the Dodgers have won 11 in a row. They're crushing the Royals again today. They're, they've put that division away and hidden. And the Padres right now are barely clinging to the third wild card. It's not like they've been some gauntlet. They're behind Atlanta and Philly in that wild card standing. That's hit down the right field line by Guillorme, hooking toward the corner and foul. Meanwhile, the race in the NL Central is fascinating right now, Ronnie, because the top two teams are going head-to-head. Cardinals beat the Brewers last night to go on game and a half in front. And what's interesting about that is neither one of those teams is likely to be a wild card if they don't win the division. And this year, there's no game 163. So if they tie, the division will be decided by the head-to-head competition. Foul tip for strike 3. Right now, the Cardinals lead the season series 7-6, and they're playing tonight. DeGrom heads back out for the 5th with a 1-0 lead. Well, he's been phenomenal so far. Gave up a bloop single to Rhys Hoskins in the first inning. He's retired 11 in a row since. He struck out 7 over the first 4 innings. Facing Nick Castellanos leading off in the 5th. And after a first pitch curveball, he comes with high gas and it's fouled back 1-1. The next step for DeGrom is to see how far he can go. Right, he threw 59 pitches in his first start, 76 in his second one, and his pitch count's a little higher today because he's had some long at bats. It was 53 through 4. So you hope to get him through 6 innings today. That was the hope the last time. And he goes away and gets a strike with a slider, 1-2.
This season, the slider has been dominant, right? Here it comes again.
Why not? Foul tip, strike 3. 8 Ks for DeGrom. Second time he's gotten Castellanos.
Well, nice job by Nito there. They'll tell you that that's mostly luck to be able to catch that foul tip. But Nito's framing of the fastball away to the hitters has been exemplary tonight. And the 8th strikeout for Jacob.
DeGrom has now thrown 15 innings this year, given up 5 hits, 1 walk, 26 strikeouts. I mean, it's like video game numbers. It's almost cartoonish. But this is what we saw for 15 starts last year. This incredible level of personal dominance. Derek Hall swings at a high fastball and comes up empty, and it's 0-2.
Watch the motion again. We're trying to really capture the lean. Right, sits on top of that rubber, and his whole body together as one moves down that hill.
Hall lines one to center. On comes Nimmo, and he picks it off, 2 out. And Derek Hall getting a fastball and lining it to center field, 2 out.
When they talk about the pitchers that throw hard, they always talk about a kinetic chain. And the kinetic chain really means everything is connected as it moves down the hill, and it all moves like it's almost firing on engines. Engine 1, fire. 2, 3, 4, and the ball goes. And that's what makes DeGrom so amazing. That, and that he repeats it over and over again.
Starts from your toes and winds up in your fingertips.
That's right.
13 in a row for Jake. Here's Brandon Marsh. First pitch curveball swung and missed. So that's 3 times now he's thrown that first pitch curveball, with a nod to Max Scherzer. Marsh struck out his first time up.
So that fastball right there, he flew open. He knows he flew open. Usually takes his time and he walks to the back of the rubber. Thinks about it a little bit, gets it back into balance, and then boom, ready to go again.
So after he flies open once, what's the adjustment he needs to make sure it doesn't happen the next time?
He will just walk back to the back of the mound and say, hey, I just flew open. Stay closed. All right, relax. Those kind of things are the things you say to yourself.
One, two. Struck him out. High heat from DeGrom to fan Marsh for a second time. 9 strikeouts in 5 scoreless innings for Jacob DeGrom. He continues to dominate at an unprecedented level. Up the ladder to get Marsh at 100 miles an hour. Halfway through, 1-0 New York. Home 5th inning. Happy birthday wishes today to Taijuan Walker. 30 candles. 30 birthday for ball players, but he looks awfully happy.
He does.
And let's get the ball in Atlanta. Jeff McNeil leads off in the home 5th and goes after a first pitch changeup from Aaron Nola. McNeil had a base hit in the 2nd inning. Nito and Nimmo to follow. That's got their run in the 1st against Nola. He's been awfully good ever since. He's retired 8 in a row, but DeGrom has retired 14 in a row. We mentioned earlier that this is the 3rd meeting between DeGrom and Nola, and the first 2 really haven't come off as advertised. This one is.
Yes, it is.
Of course, the question right now with DeGrom is how far will they let him go? And that's going to be the question until he works his way back to a full 100-pitch component. Probably has 1 more inning in him. Maybe a little more if he has a quick one.
Just it's hard to have a quick one with 2 or 3 punch-outs every inning.
Although the last start he did.
Yes.
McNeil to left center field, and Marsh is right there. 1 out. In that last start, he threw 76 pitches and struck out 12 batters. That's almost impossible to do. Today, he's thrown 64 pitches and struck out 9.
And what I'm really enjoying is you're watching these young men, DeGrom for the 20th time, Nola for the 24th time, face these opponents. It's hard to do. Facing a lot of the same hitters, and even if you're not facing a lot of the same hitters, at least an organization that has such a great memory of what you try to do.
Nito pops one up, and Hoskins waiting for it. 2 out. Well, I mean, Nola's memory is such that when he got the ball tonight, I'm sure he was thinking, I can't give up anything. I'm facing DeGrom.
Well, absolutely. You know, when you come into a game, though, when you're facing a team you've seen a lot, it's not only how good your stuff is. You're tracking the hitter's swings. You're tracking the hitter's takes. What's your command like that night? Is this team hot or not? Is the individual hot or not? All of those factors are very important when you take the hill against a team you've seen a lot.
I wonder now, with all of the analytical information available to a pitcher going into a start, whether when you're facing a team you've faced multitude of times like Nola is, and everybody in this lineup had faced Nola before, a little different on the other side where you have some rookies in the lineup against DeGrom. Do you bother with the analytical stuff, or do you go off what you know?
I think that you take a look at it, and if you see any outliers or variables that you haven't seen before, that will catch your eye and make you go, that's interesting. Hoskins is swinging first pitch right now. That's something that he doesn't usually do.
Just off the inside corner, 1-2.
You also want to know who's aggressive with runners on base. Who's that philosopher? Said that no man walks into a river the same way twice. Not the same man, not the same river. That's what it's like facing a team over and over.
Love when you get deep. Nimmo trying to snap out of a slump. He's gone 0 for his last 14 with a fly ball and a 5-foot dribbler tonight.
I'm always interested to see how Brandon's going to go here. This is every day, all day for Brandon. Something that you haven't seen in his career before.
Yeah, he takes strike 3 call. Changeup got him looking. 7 strikeouts for Nola over the first 5. 1-0 Mets. It's Jacob DeGrom day. Struck him out. Got him looking. 99 at the knees. Swings and misses on the fastball. 100 miles an hour right past him. He's a quick strikeout caught looking. And he goes down on the changeup. Gets blown away out by 101. Strikes out the side. He just keeps on rolling. In there for a call. Strike 3. A career high 15 strikeouts for Jacob DeGrom. An unforgettable performance. A master at the top of his craft. And 13 months away, haven't budged him an inch from that pinnacle. If Maton leads off in the 6th inning, DeGrom has struck out 9 over 5 innings. Struck out his first batter tonight, Bryson Stott, gave up a blue pit to Rhys Hoskins, and he's retired everybody since. Maton getting a start at second base. Maton came up in June, played 2 games for the Phillies. The second game, he hurt his shoulder trying to make a diving catch, went on the injured list, and he is just back. This is now his 4th start of the year. He had just 10 big league at bats coming into tonight this season. Came up for the first time last year.
We were impressed last year when we saw him. He's got some tools.
Brother Phil pitches for the Astros. Maton bounces the slider foul, and it's 2-2. It's the first time the Phillies have faced back-to-back Cy Young Award winners since 2008, when at Shea Stadium they faced Pedro Martinez and Johan Santana back-to-back. 2-2 coming. In the air to center field. Nimmo steadies. 1 out.
Was that back-to-back games or a doubleheader?
It was a doubleheader.
Oh, I remember that now. Santana won, Pedro lost, I think.
Right. And then Pedro would go on to pitch for the Phillies later on. So you know that the Braves have a 21-year-old center fielder in Michael Harris, and they called up the 21-year-old infielder Vaughn Grissom from Double-A. So the Marlins figured they'd bring up a pitcher from Double-A, A.J. Ladwig, to face them. Grissom hit one 440 feet. Hit sharply right at McNeil, and he handles the ground ball by Vierling for the second out. Grissom hit one that, if the home run sculpture was still there, would have taken out the Flamingos. So the Mets will see that youngster when they get to Atlanta on Monday.
Second home run he's hit. The first one was in Fenway Park.
Yeah, over the Green Monster.
He and Hall were best friends in AA ball. So
16 in a row now for DeGrom. And now starts his third time around the batting order. Bryson Stott, who has taken a call third strike and popped to short.
Like I said, Hall, Harris, and Grissom were friends in the minor leagues.
So this is where DeGrom hit the wall in his last start. He gave up a walk and a 2-run homer after getting through 5 2/3.
So watch this, the ground ball. Remember, he has that bandage on his thumb, and really that ball rolling around a lot in his glove before he can get the handle on it.
That's looped over short, a base hit for Bryson Stott. So there's the second hit against DeGrom, who had retired 16 in a row. The ball gets loose on the infield, but Alonso backs it up. So let's see if Jake is able to right things. This is exactly where he was in that start against the Braves. Up 1-0. 5 2/3.
One of the few hanging sliders from Jake. Base hit to left center field. And Hoskins, you can make the argument, has had the best at bats against Jake so far.
On Sunday, it was a walk to Adrianza. And then the 2-run homer by Dansby Swanson that ended his day. On his 76th pitch. This will be his 74th pitch. Hoskins a single to right, fly to center as last time. Stott at first, the tying run, and Hoskins takes one on the corner for a strike. 0-1.
Interesting. I always feel like Hoskins sits on pitches. It'd be interesting to see if he sits on slider here. Hoping to get a bad one.
And he got a fastball and he fouled it off, and it's 0-2. To Hoskins. Struck him out. 10 strikeouts for Jacob DeGrom. The 55th time in his career he struck out 10 or more. 6 scoreless in a 1-0 lead. Mets in-game box score brought to you by Spectrum. The story is on the right. Jacob DeGrom, third start of the season. 2 base runners in 6 stellar innings, 10 strikeouts, no walks. He's like a machine. Now the question is, can he go any farther? Starling Marte grounds one down to third, and Bohm makes the throw on target. 1 pitch, 1 out for Aaron Nola in the 6th. So here's DeGrom with Buck.
Always find these are hard discussions to have if you're a manager with a guy that's at top of his game, and you know in a perfect world can give you at least 1 more inning, but you're erroring on the side of safety.
So Seth Lugo's up in the bullpen. It appears DeGrom is done. 76 pitches. That's the same number he threw in his last start. But I think there was a little more duress tonight. He was not.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the results are obviously fantastic, but he wasn't quite as perfect as he was on Sunday. would you say?
No, 100%. But he still made it happen and still throwing 100 miles an hour in the 5th and 6th inning.
That's laced to center field, but Marsh is right there. 2 out. And I think the other consideration is that there's no extra day of rest to be had. He's going to pitch the last game of that series in Atlanta on Thursday on regular rest. And maybe that's the one where they'll unleash him and let him throw 85 or 90 pitches.
Well, his next 2 starts look like they're going to be Atlanta and the Yankees.
Yeah. Alonso's driven in the only run of this game with an opposite field single in the first. Nola has been spectacular in his own right. He's retired the last 13. That's had just 1 run and 5 hits last night, 1 run and 4 hits tonight. The Phillies' turnaround has been due to a whole bunch of factors, but their pitching has really been front and center. Nola has turned back into an ace. Zach Wheeler's having a great year. Kyle Gibson has given them great starts. Ranger Suarez, we saw last night, is a terrific lefty. This has popped up into shallow right. Hoskins out, Castellanos in, and he puts it away to retire the side. 14 straight retired by Nola. Now the Mets will go to their bullpen behind DeGrom, leading 1-0. Switch and save up to 60%. Rhys Hoskins had a single in the first. Bryson Stott has a single in the 6th. Aaron Nola gave up a run in the first. Nothing since. Jacob DeGrom done after 6 scoreless innings, and Seth Lugo will take over.
Seth coming off 2 real good outings against the Cincinnati Reds. He's had 3 days rest, and here to face the heart of the order for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Bohm, Realmuto, and Castellanos coming up against Lugo. Phillies, I'm sure, are overjoyed to have DeGrom out of the game. And Lugo bounces his first curveball to Bohm, 1-0.
50-footer.
So DeGrom goes 6, allows no runs, 2 hits, no walks, 10 strikeouts, 76 pitches. ERA after 3 starts is 1.62 with 28 strikeouts and 1 walk in 16 2/3 innings. And Lugo pours over a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
Head down. How do we get 9 outs? With 48 gone.
Fastball strike. Well, because Edwin Diaz threw only 8 pitches and Buck resisted the temptation to pitch him in the 10th last night, that means Diaz almost certainly is available tonight. So that leaves 6 outs.
So you work backwards. Yes, I like your thinking, Gary.
Bohm chops one over the mound. McNeil hurries in, tries to get the grip, and this time makes a perfect throw. It's the first time he's really seemed comfortable getting the ball out of his glove tonight, working with that cut on his thumb.
Maybe this was an opportunity or a play where he couldn't think about it. He just had to all in one motion get rid of it. And that's a clean transfer there. That should give him some confidence and solace.
So Bohm retired, 1 out. Now Realmuto, who is 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for 7 in this series. With his start tonight, allowing no runs, DeGrom has now allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 22 consecutive home starts. That is a new major league record. The record had been jointly held between DeGrom and Andrew Kashner with San Diego when he was dominant, not going deep into games, but
still
had that stretch where he allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 21 straight home games. Now DeGrom has that record to himself. He put another on his ledger. Realmuto skies one to left center. Playable for Naquin or Nimmo. And it's going to be the center fielder putting it away. That's what happens when you have 3 center fielders in the outfield. So Nimmo retires Real Muto. Other scores brought to you by Raymore and Flanagan. Braves got 3 RBIs out of Chadwick Tromp in his Braves debut in the day game in Miami. And in the night game, they lead 4-1. Home runs by Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, and Vaughn Grissom for the Braves.
Marlins are in the middle of 14 straight games where they haven't scored more than 3 runs.
Here's Castellanos, who struck out twice against DeGrom. And he fouls off first pitch fastball from Lugo. Now, with Ottavino having pitched last night, you would have to think that the game plan is for Lugo to try and get through the 7th and 8th. Pulled on the ground, past a diving Guillorme and into left field, and Castellanos has a 2-out hit. So the Phillies have their 3rd hit of the night.
The try by Guillorme, ball just beat him.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Hyundai. To learn about Hyundai's advanced technology and award-winning safety, visit buyhyundai.com. By Adapt Community Network, we change. By Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, South Florida's ultimate entertainment destination. Book your experience at hardrockholly.com. And by Grubhub. Here's Derek Hall. He hit the ball hard his last time up, lined out to Nimmo in center field. Castellanos at first is not a burner, but he can steal a base every now and again. He's got 6 this year. Curveball, chopped foul. 1-1 to Hall. There are your city, the probables for tomorrow brought to you by McDonald's. Chris Bassett for the Mets, and the former Met Zach Wheeler having another outstanding season. Pitching for the Phils. Game's on Pix 11 tomorrow. First pitch at 1:10. 1:40. Excuse me. I forgot. Sundays, East Coast, Peacock contract.
I rely on you for game time.
1:40. So works against everything we represent here. Lugo ahead on Derek Hall, 1-2, and checks in on Castellanos.
Hall's swing is uppercut variety. Got to stay away from a strike with the breaking ball. You can bounce it or go up top of the fastball, but don't throw a breaking ball for a strike. Plays to his strengths.
And he bounces that breaking ball, and it's 2-2. Two coming, and the curveball misses away. Ballooned it around the plate, and it's 3-2.
That was a nice pitch. Did you see the sun? That was a nice pitch.
So now Castellanos will be running. Alonso will hold him. 3 on the right side against Hall. 3-2 from Lugo. Struck him out. Blew a fastball by him upstairs. And Lugo gets the out as he fans Derek Hall to end the top of the 7th. Lugo picking up where DeGrom left off. 11 strikeouts for Met pitchers tonight. Stretch time at Citi Field. Inside the game brought to you by Pfizer. Aaron Nola's been really good. Jacob DeGrom was better. Pete Alonso drove in the game's only run with a first inning single. DeGrom done after 6. First 25,000 fans at the August 26th game against the Rockies will receive a Max Scherzer strikeout counter bobblehead presented by Citi. Be sure to get the second of a 2-part connecting set. Secure your seats at Mets.com/tickets.
Oh, that's a really good bobblehead. A counter.
Yeah, they already have the DeGrom one, right?
He and Verlander are going back and forth right now.
Daniel Vogelbach leading off in the home 7th against Aaron Nola. And he slices one foul. Mets haven't had a base runner since the 2nd inning. Of course, you know, tonight it's Ronnie's bobblehead night. And it's perfect that we're having a pitchers-oriented night.
No, it's not bad. I mean, you were telling me you like the likeness. I'm the Duke of York, I guess.
Line right at Stott for the first out. Well, let's just say there was an earlier bobblehead of the three of us
yes.
in which you bore a striking resemblance to a former president.
To Dutch.
Ronald Reagan, yes. You were very Reagan-esque.
I know. But my coloring was pretty close on that one. My coloring on this is a little light, but everything else is, I think, spot on.
I think that's about your winter color.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
There's Tyler Naquin with one out. Grounded out to the right side. Both his at bats thinking about a bunt with Bohm playing back.
How about the pitching defense, pitcher's defense last night in that game? From Ranger Suarez to Michael Givens.
Givens made the Mike Hampton play.
He did.
The slide toward the third baseline. Suarez, though, is maybe as good as there is in the game.
Yeah.
Well, Trevor May's getting ready in the bullpen. We were speculating maybe Lugo would go 2. Lugo threw 15 pitches in the 7th, and now May getting ready for the 8th. And Naquin takes a strike on the corner. Perfectly placed fastball by Nola, 2-1. Nola working into the 7th inning. It's the 14th straight start he's gone 6 or more. And he blows a fastball by Naquin, 2-2. Only Sandy Alcantara has thrown more innings in the National League than Nola, and by a wide margin, because Alcantara's been a unicorn this year.
Yes, he has.
But Nola has really held up his end. 14 straight starts of 6 or more innings. It's of incredible value to a pitching staff, just to know that you're not going to need that plethora of relievers on the day that this guy pitches.
You know, Nola's been like that, though, his entire career. This is his 194th start. And if his team doesn't score and he continues to pitch the way he's pitching, he could get himself that rare 8-inning complete game, which he doesn't want.
Nobody wants that. 2-2 to Naquin. He misses outside. Full count. Luis Guillorme on deck. There has not been a walk in this game on either side. Not a surprise with Nola, who came in averaging 1.2 walks per 9 innings.
Number 3-2, he threw a curveball to Nito in the 2nd inning.
Got him to look at that for strike 3. And Naquin watches strike 3 called as well. A fastball at the knees, and he goes away an unhappy customer. 8 strikeouts now for Nola. Six of his 8 strikeouts have been on call third strikes. So now Guillorme. That's 16 in a row retired by Nola. DeGrom had a stretch where he retired 16 in a row. How often do you get a game where both starting pitchers retire 16 straight batters? Guillorme has one of the Mets' 4 hits tonight. And takes a changeup outside for ball 1. Not a hint of action in the Phillies bullpen, with Nola's pitch count still very low.
Starters ERA for the Phillies has been outstanding all season long.
Grounded toward the hole, run down by Maton, and he makes the toss to get Guillorme. 17 in a row retired by Nola. We head for the 8th. Mets 1, Phillies nothing. Day game tomorrow on Pix 11. SNY for the 4 games in Atlanta starting on Monday night. Then the Mets go to Philadelphia for 4 games with the Phillies. We'll have 3 of those 4 on SNY. Trevor May will get the 8th inning, trying to protect a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched in 4 days. His last outing was very effective against Cincinnati, who was a little wild, but 3 strikeouts.
Ronnie, I bet you didn't know this, but Steve Gelbs is here tonight. Steve?
He is?
What do you mean you didn't know? I interviewed Mike Piazza earlier today, guys. Come on. Hand it to me. I've been here.
That was Mike Piazza handling
I was just about to say, it was all about Mike, wasn't it?
So listen, you may have noticed, but Trevor May is not throwing that splitter anymore, the pitch that he worked on this offseason and brought into the year. He says that he's pretty tentative with it because it was causing some mechanical deviation. He said the changeup, the slider, the fastball, they all work similarly when it comes to arm speed, release point, and how to get in position to throw it, but the splitter is much different. And before the injury, he thought that he was starting to defer to the splitter arm path a little bit more the more he threw it in an outing. That was not only affecting his other pitches, but he also thinks contributed to his injury.
It's 3 months with that injury and still trying to get himself the feel as he comes back. It's even on Brandon Marsh with a fastball 1-1.
Well, because of the effectiveness of Aaron Nola, he's put the Mets in a spot where their relievers have to be perfect and not allow a run. Lugo did his part.
And Marsh fouls one off his leg and comes up hobbling.
Where's he foul this off his front shin, side of his shin? Extremely painful.
No padding.
Those foul tips, they don't hit the pads as much as the hitters would like them to.
Well, until you go up there wearing a suit of armor,
Yeah.
it's always going to be a vulnerable spot. Trevor May, last time out against the Reds, had an ultimately successful inning, but boy, was it scary. Gave up a hit and 2 walks. 29 pitches, got out of a bases loaded jam. Trying for something a little cleaner tonight with a 1-0 lead in the 8th. 1-2 to Marsh. Up and away with a fastball at 98. 2-2. Nick Maton on deck, then Matt Vierling. Question in Buck Showalter's mind has got to be, is Kyle Schwarber available to swing the bat? Schwarber's out with a calf injury that he suffered on Thursday, but could he come up to pinch hit? 2-2 coming. Ripped down the line, a foul ball.
It's always awkward for the Mets relievers who come in after DeGrom, who maxes out at 102. You come in throwing 97, so you got a -5 working.
I mean, is that really a thing? Are the hitter's bats sped up at that point?
Not sped up, but I mean, they've already seen the max velocity.
Well, they might see it again in the 9th.
Well, then it switches again.
2-2 coming. Struck him out. High fastball by Trevor May to get Marsh, who strikes out for the 3rd time tonight. That's an even dozen for Met pitchers, 1 out in the 8th.
And all 3 fastballs that have gotten Marsh have been up in the strike zone. He has not been able to catch up that time, maybe because of the foul ball. Didn't really give him a nice foundation there as he kind of limped off the field.
So now Nick Maton, who has struck out and flied out 0 for 2. And sure enough, Kyle Schwarber has come out on deck to bat for Matt Vierling. And this is what Buck was anticipating. It's going to be May's guy because he doesn't have the lefty up in the bullpen to face Schwarber. Maton swings out from under his helmet on the changeup. The ball and a strike. Schwarber not only leads the National League in home runs, but he has been such an enormous presence against the Mets the last couple of years, whether as a national, with the Red Sox, or this year with the Phillies. And he looms on deck for Trevor May. 1-1 to Maton. A good breaking ball. 1-2.
You know, if that was a breaking ball, changeup, didn't matter. Secondary pitch, that's effective.
One-two coming. Hooked foul. 1-2 to Maton.
No real significance between the at-bats Schwarber has had against May or Joely Rodriguez, the left-hander.
Again, the 1-2 to Maton. Struck him out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Trevor May. 2 out and nobody on. And now Schwarber striding to the plate.
Boy, that was a tight slider by Trevor. Maybe his best since he's come back. See that grip, kind of the football release, stiff right wrist, and produces a perfect slider.
So now Jeremy Hefner out to talk to Trevor May as the National League's leading home run hitter Kyle Schwarber comes up to pinch hit. 3 home runs against the Mets this year, 9 last year, 16 for his career in just 145 at bats against Met pitching.
Remember earlier this year, these home runs started with against Ottavino. That's deep into the night. And then a couple against Max Scherzer. One, he went down to almost one knee to lift that out of Citi Field.
Schwarber 1 for 3 against May with no home runs. Batting with 2 out and nobody on a 1-0 game. And takes the first pitch slider for a strike, 0-1. Full triangle defense on against Schwarber.
Strained right calf for Schwarber, the landing leg.
Wonder how hard he can run on a ground ball, or if he tries to leg an extra base hit. And the slider misses down, and it's 1-1.
Buck was telling us before the game he felt like Schwarber, if he wasn't available tonight, is ready pretty soon to be in the starting lineup.
Rob Thompson, interim manager, shooting his one big bullet here in the 8th. And Schwarber pops it up. Shallow center field. Nimmo coming on. Side retired. King sized out for Trevor May. He gets him out 1-2-3. 1-0 Mets. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by McDonald's. Download the McDonald's app for app-only deals. By Pfizer. By Pearl Vision. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl. And by the first ever Genesis GV70. Make way for want. Go to genesis.com to learn more. It has been a great pitcher's duel tonight at Citi Field. Trevor May held up his end with a 1-2-3 8th inning. Mets with a 1-0 lead, looking for some insurance. Aaron Nola has gone the distance for Philadelphia, retiring his last 17 hitters. Garrett Stubbs, normally a catcher, has come into play left field after Schwarber pinch hit for Vierling. Jeff McNeil has the last Met hit, the last Met base runner. That was in the second inning. That's got a run in the first. They got 2 hits off Nola in the second, and since then he's retired 17 in a row. And this is down with a changeup, and it's 2-0. Tomas Nido on deck, then Brandon Nimmo. For Stubbs, playing left field, it's his first outfield appearance of the season and the 13th of his career. Did it twice last year with the Astros. And that's outside McNeil, and so Nola, who has not walked a batter all night, falls behind 3-0. In fact, there hasn't been a walk on either side tonight. There have been only 7 hits. And there's ball 4, so a 4-pitch walk to McNeil, leading off in the 8th, and now the Mets will have their best bunter, Tomas Nido, coming up. The first walk on either side comes leading off in the bottom of the 8th. Just about everybody would be expecting Nido to bunt.
Must have been talked about on the bench. Nido did not look down at the coach, Cora. McNeil did not look at Cora either. He did not give one sign to anyone on the field.
Bohm is not nearly as close as you would expect at third base in this situation. Playing on the cutout. And Nido squares and lays off. Curveball out of the strike zone, ball 1. Nido has 10 sacrifice bunts this year after having just 1 sacrifice bunt in his career before this season.
So he'd been told to bunt on the bench. Now he looks for the signs to see if it's still on.
Bohm still not selling out to the bunt by any means, playing even with the bag at third. McNeil the runner at first, nobody out. Nimmo on deck. And again, Nola misses outside, and that's 6 straight out of the strike zone for a pitcher with impeccable control. And all of a sudden, the Philly bullpen starts throwing in a hurry. Nola had looked untouchable for the last 6 innings. But now Connor Brogdon quickly to work in the Phillies bullpen.
You're going to get a fastball here. You could do something fancy if you're Buck Showalter.
Now Bohm comes in closer at third. Bunt still on, and Nido fouls it at the plate, 2-1. Now would you play hit and run?
I would have played hit and run 2-0. 2-1 gives Nola some latitude to maybe get a little fancy himself. But Nido did not look, for the first time, did not look very good at that bunt attempt. So he could take it off.
Interesting. Bohm has moved a little further back. He was in about 2 steps out of the grass. Now he's back to even with the bag. So he's not sold on the bunt here. Now he comes in a little closer. And Nido squares, lays it down, forces Hoskins to field it. The throw to second in time, and the return throw to first for the double play. The Phillies executed perfectly. Hoskins throwing a strike to Stott, and on to first where Maton covered for the 3-6-4 double play.
Well, we saw some defense from the Phillies last night that helped them win that ball game. The great charge by Hoskins got rid of it and threw a strike to Stott at shortstop. Get the out first, and then the good hard throw to Nido, who got stuck in the box, which you'll sometimes do when you're making sure to get the bunt down.
So nicely done by Hoskins. 3-6-4 double play, erases the base runner. And now here's Nimmo, who's gone 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for his last 15. He pops one foul back and out of play, 0-1. Edwin Diaz getting ready for the 9th inning. He'll be facing the top of the batting order for the Phillies. Stott, Hoskins, and Bohm. Nimmo pops one up on the left side. Bohm waiting for it near the bag. Side retired. Nola, 8 innings, 1 run, but he trails. And Edwin Diaz will now try and seal the deal for New York.
Number 39, Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz bids for the save in the 9th inning when we come back to Citi Field. Since the start of June, Edwin Diaz has allowed 1 earned run, walked 2, struck out 55.
And 16 for 16 and save opportunities.
Trying to finish what Jacob deGrom started. Top of the Phillies batting order in a 1-0 game. Bryson Stott takes a slider for a strike. Diaz worked the 9th inning last night. 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts and a fly ball. He threw just 8 pitches. And so back for more tonight. Stott, Hoskins, and Bohm. And Stott swings at a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 0-2. Mets began the night with triple-digit heat. deGrom threw 6 brilliant innings. Lugo and May were the bridge. And now Diaz trying to close it out. 0-2 to Stott. Ground ball down to third, handled by Guillorme. Close play, 1 out. If you're the Phillies, you have to figure that's like a victory. I mean, look at that. Since his last blown save, he struck out 59 batters in 27 2/3 innings. He converted his last 16 save opportunities.
12 hits allowed, Gary, in that time. It's like trying to find safety during a tornado.
Here's Hoskins, 24 home runs on the year. And the slider bounces in for ball 1. Hoskins 1 for 13 with 7 strikeouts in his career against Diaz. And just off the corner, 2-0. Tonight's starters brought to you by Infinity. Nola was great. At one point retired 17 straight. But deGrom was better. At one point he retired 16 straight. Great pitcher's duel. Hoskins swings at a 2-0 slider. He was not expecting that. 2-1.
What's the difference this year for Diaz? First pitch strikes, slider command.
And now he's behind on Hoskins, 3-1. And we showed you how few he has walked over the last couple of months. Dangerous part of the batting order with Hoskins at the plate, Bohm, and then if it gets that far, Real Muto. 3-1 coming. And there's ball 4. And so Hoskins is aboard, carrying the tying run with 1 out. First walk issued by Met pitchers tonight. So now the Phillies have themselves an opportunity. Tying run at first. They're going to run for Hoskins and bring in Edmundo Sosa, whom they acquired from the Cardinals a couple of weeks ago. Sosa running for Hoskins, carrying the tying run.
Starting shortstop for the Cardinals last year in the wild card game. Real good speed, not great.
Don't forget, coming up on Channel 11, it's the Picks News at 10 with one of the true pillars of New York news, Kaidi Tom. Bohm's had good numbers against Diaz, 2 hits and 6 at bats. First pitch slider below the knees, ball 1. Sosa 3 steals on the year, not going. Swing and a miss at a slider. 1-1 to Bohm.
Bohm, since his resurgence for these Phillies, has seemingly gotten every important hit they've needed in the last month.
There goes Sosa inside, throw to second by Nito, on the money, but just a shade too late. And Sosa steals the bag. Stealing bases when it matters the most. Sosa swipes his 4th of the year.
Well, he got a great jump. Good throw by Nito right on the bag, but he got in before the tag and held the base.
So now the tying run in scoring position with 1 out. A 2-1 count to Bohm with Real Muto on deck. In the air to right field. Toward the line comes Marte. He'll get there. Makes the catch, and Sosa will not move an inch. 2 out. You see that? Lindor cut the throw and then flipped it surreptitiously to McNeil, hoping to get Sosa off the bag, but he didn't bite.
Maybe to catch him napping. A little sleight of hand there by Lindor and McNeil.
The last time the Mets won a 9-inning 1-0 game, it was opening day 2020 against the Braves, a game started by DeGrom and finished by Diaz. Diaz needs 1 more out. He's got to get through Real Muto. He was 4 for 11 with a home run against Edwin. And the slider misses away, ball 1.
This is the first game in quite some time, Gary. Diaz's slider command is 50-50.
Tying run at second. McNeil trying to keep him close. And that slider well off the plate. Now it's 2-0 to Real Muto, is looking for his first hit in this series. There was going to come a day when Edwin was not perfect. This is that day, and now we'll see if he can dig in and get it done nonetheless. 2-0 to Real Muto. Swing and a miss and a fastball. 2-1. Always helps when you have 100 in your pocket.
Yeah. Throws this by Real Muto because it's right on the corner away. Real Muto sitting middle of the plate in. Can't handle it.
And he bounces that slider, and now it's 3-1. He's already walked a batter in the inning.
We've seen Nito do this all season long. I always feel that it could hurt him at some point, but his hands are just impeccable.
Came up ready to throw in case Sosa was taking liberties. Now it's 3-1 to Real Muto. Castellanos would be next. And Real Muto swings over a slider. Best one Edwin's thrown in this inning, and now it's 3-2. Three-two coming. And he walked him. And now the tying and go-ahead runs are on base with Nick Castellanos coming up. So Diaz, who has walked so few over the last couple of months, 2 walks in the last 2.5 months, but 2 walks in this inning. And now Castellanos, who had the last hit for the Phillies, a single against Lugo in the 7th, steps in with 2 out and 2 on. Castellanos 2 for 8 against Diaz. Sosa at second, Real Muto at first. And a fastball for a strike, nothing in 1. 101 miles an hour on the black. th pitch of the inning from Diaz. Off the corner. 1-1. And Castellanos watches a slider low and away, and it's 2-1. Adonis Medina loosening up. First time in ages that Diaz has looked even close to human in the 9th inning. And now taking a moment behind the mound to collect himself. Two and 1 to Castellanos. There go the runner. Swung and missed. They steal without a throw. The Phillies are down to their final strike. But now the tying and go-ahead runs are in scoring position on the double steal by Sosa and Real Muto.
Well, the Mets were holding their defensive positions. They were not holding Sosa close. It was a gimme, and they took it.
Diaz 1 strike away. Looper down the right field line, foul. Into the netting. Castellanos able to make contact at 101 and keep the at-bat alive. Well, the second time this year Diaz has walked 2 in an inning. The first time came back in May against St. Louis. Trying to dig deep for that last out. And Castellanos able to foul off a slider.
In Diaz's darkest moments, many of them against the Phillies, tried to speed pitch himself through tough outings. Today, looks much more composed.
Trying to slow things down, if anything. About to throw his 25th pitch of the inning. Sosa at third, Real Muto at second. 2-2 to Castellanos. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. Edwin Diaz bends but does not break. A brilliantly pitched game all the way around. DeGrom, Nola, and the Mets bullpen. Diaz strikes out Castellanos to end it. And the Mets have themselves a 1-0 9-inning victory for the first time since opening day of 2020. And they even up the series with the Phillies at a game apiece.
Everything has been so automatic for Edwin Diaz the last couple of months that had to scare him a bit when he did not have his control coming out of the gate. But he persevered. DeGrom was outstanding. Nola stayed with him as long as he could, and the Mets get a big win.
Real kudos to Nola, who gets the rare complete game loss. He retired 17 in a row at one point, but DeGrom was just too good. Lugo and May held up their end with scoreless innings, and Diaz, on a day when he was not perfect, was nonetheless able to get the huge out, striking out Castellanos to end it to secure the 1-0 victory. Here's your game summary brought to you by Playland, Metro New York's top destination for family fun. DeGrom through 3 starts as a 1.62 ERA. Diaz picks up his 27th save. Only struck out 1 in that inning, but this was the one that ended it. Didn't throw a lot of good sliders in that inning, but when he had to, he had one left in the tank.
He saved his best for last. You're right, Gare.
Mets get even with the Phillies. A couple of well-pitched games these last 2 nights. Mets win 1-0. More from Citi Field coming up.